And here we are again today. And here's my logo. And I'm doing a little better on eating, but not that great. And peekaboo, it's me. It's the mage. It's the. Oops, a little bit off. So we're going to continue talking about therapy, the history of therapy, modern history, as I previously mentioned. I am going to try to speed this up a little bit. I'm going to try to learn to speak faster, a little bit faster, because I think I just draw. I feel like I'm a Southern. I don't know why I speak so slowly. Maybe because English is not my first language, and I'm going to try to do this in Portuguese and see if I speak faster in Portuguese. That would be an interesting experiment. I'm going to read something in Portuguese to see if I can do it quicker. Good thing to do. But continuing on, yesterday, Freud was up to France, off to Charcot and his hypnosis and his Salpêtrière hospital in Paris, where they were conducting experiments. They were treating women with, again, hypnosis. And Freud gets an idea, figures out, now I can make a living. Goes back to Vienna with these ideas that he doesn't really talk about. He doesn't attribute. He's kind of a weasel about this. He doesn't attribute these discoveries, although he goes on and talks individually about. He goes on and takes Greek myths and all these other stories because it's not science. He does not credit people. He's very much, I'm my own, I'm a genius. And there's a lot of good about Freud. There's a lot of things about Freud. I find him fascinating for one reason. Freud, like my father, hated the United States. Unlike my father, I think he spent like 2 days in the United States and got out, went to England, went back to Austria, then went to England before otherwise he would get killed, as is, I think, most of his family. I think his 2 sisters were killed, and my father was here for like 15 years. He made good money while he was here, but he could have, like he said, walked off with bags of money because he had a really good deal. I mean, he came to the United States at the right time with the right connections, and he was just not a very good businessman. Like I am not a good businesswoman, so I understand them. Anyway, back to Freud. So he's back in Vienna, buzzing with ideas that he kind of borrowed from Charcot in Paris. He is ready to revolutionize his practice. No more awkward ovary compressions. He's going to use the tool of the future, hypnosis. It's still used, by the way, for people who are able to be hypnotized. It's very effective, and I think it's great. I'm not. I'm resistant. He starts with high hopes. You'll put his patients into a trance, command their symptoms away, and he be hailed as a miracle worker. But it doesn't work out that way. For one, Freud discovered he's not a very good hypnotist, and that's the secret. You have to be really good at it. He's not particularly charismatic in that theatrical, commanding way, which you don't really have to be to do hypnosis in the office. You have to do it on stage. So, but you have to have a lot of self-confidence in a way, and you have to believe in the treatment. I don't think he believed in the treatment. Just like anything, if you don't believe it yourself, it's hard for you to sell something that you don't. You have to be a really good salesperson. I don't know if Freud was. He finds the whole thing a bit bossy. The suggestions wear off. Hypnosis does wear off. The symptoms return. It feels like plastering over a sack in a dam. I wrote that, oh, a crack in a dam. It feels like covering a dam, or it feels like he's putting a little hole in the wall of the Netherlands walls that keep the North Sea out. The little boy in the anyway. But he's stubborn and he starts to notice something peculiar. When he can't hypnotize a patient or when the trance is light, they just talk. They ramble. They free associate, jumping from a childhood memory to a dream they had to a complaint about their spouse. And on this rambling, Freud notices that the emotions attached to the memories start to shift. He begins to experiment. Instead of commanding symptoms away, he starts asking questions. He puts his hands on a patient's forehead, a little dramatic proppy like, taking the temperature, and says, I'm going to apply pressure and an image or memory from the moment this symptom began will come to you. Tell me the first thing that comes to mind. And this is where the magic happens. This is where psychoanalysis starts. He's working closely with a colleague and mentor, Joseph Brauer, who has already stumbled onto something profound with a famous patient you may have already heard of. A young woman history knows as Anna O. Anna O was brilliant, stifled by the expectations of Victorian womanhood, and deeply ill. She had paralysis, speech problems, and hallucinations. Brauer would visit her daily, and he started a simple ritual. He would let her talk. She called it wonderfully her talking cure, or sometimes with a smirk, chimney sweeping. And there's the breakthrough. She noticed that when she could find the words to describe the exact moment a particular symptom first appeared, and when she could fully express the feeling she had at that moment, the symptom would simply vanish. Let me give you an example. At one point, Anna O had developed a mysterious fear of drinking water, even though she was desperately thirsty. Through talking, she eventually recalled a traumatic moment she had walked in on her governess's dog, a dog she despised, drinking from a glass. She had felt a surge of disgust, but being a proper young lady, had swallowed the feeling. Get the language? When she finally told the story, and more importantly, when she allowed herself to fully express that repressed disgust, she immediately reached for a glass of water and drank without any trouble. Now, that's not as easy to do in real life because I'm do exposure therapy, and one of the and this kind of trauma, this kind of cleanliness and associated with past traumas, or take a while. So this has a lot of stuff in between. This is like the simple version. Freud was electrified. He called this process catharsis, a release, a purging of the pent-up emotion. The hypothesis forming in his mind was radical. Hysterics, he would later write up in a famous phrase, suffer mainly from reminiscences. He was wrong again. Think about that. It's not the memory itself that's the problem, but the unexpressed, unfelt, repressed emotion attached to it. That trapped energy, believe, doesn't just disappear. It converts into physical symptoms, a paralyzed arm, a lost voice, a chronic tic. The body keeps the score, as we might say today. This was the pivot. The focus shifted from the brain to the mind, from the symptom to the story behind it. The doctor was no longer a commander issuing orders, but a detective, a co-detective, a co-archaeologist, carefully excavating the buried ruins of a patient's past. That's why I call it co, because the patient has to collaborate. the talking cure had begun. And then we'll go into the specifics of Freud. Now, Freud had a lot of associates, a lot of people he worked with. He was not very, the ethics at the time, but this was the beginning of medicine as we call it today. So we have to go back into a very different world. This is it for today. I am very happy to do this because I am going to try something today, which is do something in Portuguese and see if I am able to do it quicker and not have to refer to my notes. Thank you. Oh boy, this is fun.